So I wanted to talk to you today about Children of God. That's the title. Now, I don't need to see hands. I'm pretty sure you've heard those three words in the same sentence at some point in your life. So why would I pick something that you're so familiar with, so very, very familiar with? A couple of answers to that. I took this off the wall at Brendalyn's office, because that's of course what you do when you're a guest somewhere. You take stuff off the walls. Oh, please, if you don't mind, thank you.
Ms. Banner?
Yeah. I know people. This is why. I would like to complete this talk this morning with you having those three words as something that you can use, something that are useful to you, something that can open up space in your life, because often we're behind this door. That's great. That's great.
That, by the way, that was by Tom Ross, Janet McKenna's cousin. He used to have a gallery on Canyon Road and is now in Las Vegas.
And you're auctioning it? Now, take those three words. We find those words in Matthew 18:30, where we're invited to be as children of God. We must be as children to enter the kingdom of heaven, Matthew 18:30. Now, my gripe with a lot of spirituality in these days is we are burnt out on some of these expressions. Oneness, things like that. We've heard it so many times. Click off. If you see out of that door there, this is, particularly at sunset. Now, I know there's never a boring sunset in Santa Fe, right? Right? Never a boring sunset. But you see these things more as a visitor. And out there, sunset over those mountains, it's just idyllic. You see that sunset over the mountains, incredible. But we don't think what it's actually like to be in the mountains. With the flora, with the rocks, the dry soil, the, oh my God, what just moved over there? I'm really cold actually. And such it is with an expression such as children of God. There is so much underneath that, a cavernous amount. I'd just like to even touch on it today. And so we're here at Unity. We're at Unity, an institution that's been going for 120 plus years, an awfully long time. And as I understand it, even though I'm not from this country, founded from the words of someone who healed themselves and said, I am a child of God. An illness cannot exist in my body. And here we are still. So, if we're going to look at children of God, I think it really behooves us to look at children. Good place to start. I do have 3 children. I'm usually very tired. They're young children. And when we delight in children, we're probably looking at the younger ages, aren't we? And we delight at their wonder, their sense of curiosity, positivity. My eldest, Sophia, she's 8 years old. She's 8 years old. I take her to the grocery store, and I know she will always greet the people that we are walking next to. Hello! With no fear, no, none of that. Can you imagine walking through Whole Foods? Just greet anyone in the aisle there. People are like, what's happening? A stranger talk to me. Projection, forgive me. So, you see, children are open to each other. They're not encumbered with life that we as such adults can be. And children forgive each other as well. I have a 3-year-old, I have a 5-year-old. I know what a tantrum looks like. I also know how long a tantrum lasts for, and it's not very long. And you see, what we can learn from this is that children fully express, and then they're done. And then they're done. They're not like us. That thing Sally did last year. That thing Fred did last week. And we're still holding on to it. But they move in and they're done. And they forgive each other. And we forgive them. I'll get home in a few days. Something of mine will probably be broken. Something of mine will definitely have been drawn on. But I'll get over it very quickly. Very, very quickly. And you know, the closest example we have the closest adult example we have to what I'm talking about, we find it in literature of the court jester. or the fool in Shakespearean tradition. And this person, usually male, that had complete impunity in the court, could say what he wanted to, was actually deemed quite wise in that respect. I adore the simplicity of children. I'm sure at some point most of us, before we got smartphones, owned an iPod. Now back in 2000 and such, whenever they came out, I didn't understand how these things were made. I didn't understand about bit rate, Gorilla Glass. I mean, look at me, come on. But when Steve Jobs stood up, held one in his hand and said, "This is insanely cool," and I understand that. We've got a spot quiz for you. Who could tell me who Steve Jobs' first competitor was? It was his mother, for the kitchen table. True story. Children are uniquely focused as well. My middle loves to play with Lego. He's always playing with Lego. When he can't find what he built with Lego, the whole house knows about it. Our youngest, when he wants a glass of water, the whole street knows about it, until he gets it. Now the great teacher, some of you are familiar with her, Hilda Charlton, she's no longer with us. She used to talk about the difference between wanting God and wanting to want God. And I'll put myself more in the latter of those two categories, honestly. I'll leave it for you to say where you fit in. There was a song on the radio a few years ago. One of the lines were, "We only call to heaven when we're going through some drama." Yeah, indeed. I adore the uniqueness of children. I mentioned what it's like to come here as a visitor. To see something for the first time is a unique, is a unique gift as an adult. I remember seeing the Grand Canyon for the first time. I'd never seen anything like it. Filled up my whole field of vision. Probably the last thing I saw that I'd never seen before was actually the last scene in Avengers. It was really cool. Really, really cool. The children approach that, as I say, they're not encumbered by life like we are. And I love stories like this. I love them, I absolutely love them. There's the child who didn't usually paint or draw at school, and her teacher noticed what she was doing. He said, "What you doing?" She said, "I'm drawing." The teacher said, "What you drawing?" She said, "I'm drawing God." The teacher said, "No one knows what God looks like." She said, "Wait 5 minutes and they will." And it makes complete sense, doesn't it? And then one more, forgive me, one more, I just love this stuff. Teacher says to the child, I think another girl, "How old is your father?" And she says, 6. The teacher says, "Your father is not 6. She says, "I'm 6. He became a father when I was born." I insert the head wiggle, that's my own little thing here. Now, this is adorable and it's cute, okay? But let's just say, to be spiritually available, we need to have some sense of what has not come before us, what something has not been. And if that doesn't interest you, and I get that it might not interest you, some of you, most of you probably have a smartphone in your pocket. Most of us depend, probably 50–60%, on businesses that didn't exist 10 years ago. A conversation which I've never had, along the lines of, "Let's get an Uber and talk about Bitcoin," and we'll never say that sentence probably, couldn't have happened 5 or 6 years ago. Never has it been more important to view the future with openness and possibility and loving mystery. Never before. Now, of course, I'm idealizing, if that's a word, yeah, it is. I'm idealizing children, because that's not all that they're like. In Corinthians 13:11, we're reminded, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spoke as a child, I behaved as a child. But now I'm an adult, and I think as an adult, I behave as an adult, talk as an adult. Clearly, from time to time, children act up. I love mine to bits. I would do anything for them. But if they were here, with the others out the back, by this time, I'm pretty sure one of them would have had trouble sharing. I'm very sure one of the boys would have hit each other by now. Now I hope to God that none of you are being hit or are hitting anyone. Yet, the children of God that we are, we do have a tendency to hit with our words and our judgments. And if neither of those, then certainly with our looks. So let's look at the other side of this. And I see it in terms of refusing grace, refusing to be open to grace. Now it's a little late in the day to be sharing this with you. I'm actually Jewish. And I'm sharing this, firstly, because being Jewish, I'm more familiar with the Old Testament. I went to a Christian school, and in those days we got to read the forbidden part of the Bible. The New Testament. But in the Old Testament, we meet Samson. We meet Samson. I'm going to quickly make a little segue here. Samson from Israel. Israel is the name of the gentleman that I'm holding memorial space for. Israel looks an awful lot like Santa Fe, actually, in the relief and so on. So anyway, Samson, the Iron Man of the Old Testament. Samson, the most exciting part of the Old Testament for me. Here's this guy who could beat anyone in a fight, ate food out of a dead animal, never cut his hair, and we've all got a friend like that, right? Anyway, all through Samson's life, God is talking to him and saying, you're the one that's going to free my people. It's you. Spelled out pretty clearly for him. And all through Samson's life, he's going, la, 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 I'm hungry, she is cute. The book of Samson. Is that technically blasphemy? I'm going to move on. Until we meet him at the end. And he's bound up. He's in chains. He's blind. It's really not looking good. And God says to him again, you are the one that is going to lead my people to freedom. And that's when he steps up, destroys the temple, and frees his people. And God does not love him any more or any less than the other 50 times he said it to him. And such it is with us. We often wait till we're backed in a corner, and gone la 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 till the cows come home, finally realized there was grace for us, we took it, and God loves us no more and no less. A question. Hands up if you know that after you brush your teeth, if you drink orange juice in that moment, it tastes disgusting. Hands up. You know. Right. Okay, not as many as I thought. Okay. Well done, guys. Well done. Unity's working for you, obviously. You know how you know that? Because you've done it like 60 times. Brush, 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 lug, lug. Oh, yeah. And we just seem to need to learn things a bunch of times before we do something differently. I'm sure several of you can ride a bicycle. Most of you, I'm sure, can ride a bicycle. And if so, you probably learned the same way I did. One of your parents, my father in my case, chasing behind me, holding the seat, promising he was going to keep holding the seat. Kept cycling, looked back, wasn't there. And then you had that moment of terror, abject terror, and then you can ride a bicycle. Now, maybe you, like me, fell off at that point and hit your chin. But if you did, then like me, your father was right there to pick you up. And plus, you knew that you could ride a bicycle. It is unavoidable, I think, in life. In fact, necessary to have these moments of terrified isolation. When nothing's there for us, when we feel completely alone, lost, confused and scared. And I think we need those times. Because then we know they don't last forever, do they? And the support that we needed shows up. Spirit once said, when we see you drowning in the ocean, we will throw you a life reserve over there. So you have to swim for it. Because how else do we learn? It takes us 60 times to work out if we brush our teeth and drink orange juice, it doesn't taste good. Probably extends to other areas of our life as well. Daily word. That's in the silence. Can you just repeat that for us?
Silence.
There was more though.
I find myself in the silence.
Thank you, yes, thank you. I find myself in the silence. Now, anyone ever seen the Lego movie? Right, there's a character called Emmett, he's always happy. Right? I'm not always that guy. So, for me, occasionally that door is shut. And in the silence, I hear nagging voices. And all sorts of things. I made a mistake once, a few years ago, because I'm old enough to have made mistakes. Made a mistake a few years ago. A mistake. One of those mistakes you never make at the time you realise you made the mistake. You realise you made it several choices ago. So I'm walking around racked in guilt and shame, all these things. And a voice says to me, go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. The voice says, look yourself in the mirror. I looked at myself in the mirror. The voice said, look yourself in the eyes. I looked at myself in the eyes. And the voice said, say to yourself, I am a child of God. And I did. 2 or 3 or 4 times. And in that moment, there was a release. A gentle letting go of these chains of pain around me. Came back later in the day, actually. But I had a moment of relief there. The door opened. The door opened. I don't have the time to talk about these things in energetic terms, but suffice to say, when we're in a state of being like that, the cords of energy and bonds and so on are very tightly interwoven together. And how quickly the door opens is how quickly those get distangled. But it's not all bad. Some of you familiar with the author, Gay Hendricks? Yes, lovely to see some nods there. So he never knew his real father. His father died a month or 2 after he was born. And he tells this beautiful story. After Sunday school one day, when he'd heard about this thing called the Son of God. And he goes outside to play on a Sunday afternoon. And he's looking up at the sky through the trees. And he says to himself, well, I've never known my father. So I wonder if my father is up there. And if my father is up there, then maybe I'm the Son of God too. And if I'm the Son of God, then maybe everyone is. And if everyone is, then we're all connected to everything. He's 5 years old. Because you see, if a tool can unlock one door, it can open another one further. It's not just about the challenges in life. It's about making the good things great. And so, I inspire you, I hope, to use these 3 little words, to take them home with you. Bless you. To disentangle problems, because at the point that a problem is born, it's born from the same place as a solution. Because with our divine parentage, there is no human being alive, or will ever be, that has the ability or the right to have authority over your spirit. There will never be. And I encourage you to use these 3 words. Simplicity is best. Not those 3 words. To use those 3 words to open up space, to gently step into your empowerment. When you step into your empowerment, you're free. When you're free, you're at peace. When you're at peace, you can be a peacemaker. Finish this sentence for me, if you will. Blessed be the peacemakers, for they shall be known as children of God. So wonderful. I would like to take us into meditation now. I'm going to use my looping station over there. And as I've done before, I'm going to use the prayer of St. Francis. Every time I drive down St. Francis Drive, it just catches me. got to be done. Prayer of St. Francis, for those of you interested in the Tao Te Ching, is about finding the center point, which in our life of reactivity and so on, is always moving. If anyone's not experienced vocal looping before, I'm going to build up the song using just my voice. Let's close our eyes. eyes, by mouth, lips and arms and hands. To be the bridge of light from you to anyone who would need it. As the child of God, we claim this. We claim this as ours. We ask to receive. We ask for opportunity. Let's bring our attention to our feet now. Feeling your feet on the floor. Connection to the earth. The same earth that everyone else walks. Now bring that attention to your chest, to your heart, please. Breathing from there. Letting the body's own natural intelligence breathe through you. This is where we meet all others. With your eyes closed, see this room full of lights, the lights that each other are. Let's take some deep, full breaths for the whole body now. Full breath to the whole body. Let's open our eyes.